Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm recording this on Saturday. Winter has returned, and I just can't believe it. I hope it's for a one-day engagement, but it's not going to really matter because tomorrow, well, as you see this on Sunday, I will be on the road cruising my way towards Las Vegas. And I wanted to come on today for a couple very specific reasons. As many of you know, I'm engaged in helping out at St. Joseph's Church down in Las Vegas, especially in terms of helping. Well, I've done a few minor things for the physical plant to the best of my ability, and a few minor renovations, a few things like upgrading to LEDs throughout to try to be energy efficient and things like that. As many of you remember, replacing the signboard and working on that. As somebody once famously quipped in the comment section on that, well, let me give a little bit of background. There's an outside board that gives a mass schedule, confessions, baptism, blah, blah, blah. And some homeless over time had destroyed that by smashing out the plexiglass and then going so far as to rip out the actual cloth with the letters on the inside. So putting that back together and redoing that, and I always hold my breath when I go down to see if it's still holding up. July will be 1 year. So we will hope, but as somebody famously quipped, you have to be a real moron to stand out there for 3 hours, 4 hours on that street and tediously put that black cloth back in each of the little slots so that the letters stick in. Well, I'm just that kind of moron, to be honest with you. Anybody that could do what I did growing up, one of my first jobs in Ocean City was shucking 13 bushels of corn a day for a seafood restaurant. And if that doesn't teach you patience, well, nothing in the world will. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I am returning this time for a couple reasons, to help them kick off a capital campaign to raise money for a parish hall. And they have raised the bulk of the money required, but there's still a significant amount of money to be raised. So that's something that I'm going to be involved in with that. As you've seen in some of the videos that I've done and some of the videos that you'll see on the YouTube channel that I'm revealing today for the church, you will see the crying need for space down there, especially if you remember the Thanksgiving video I put up. Everybody's crammed into this tiny room trying to dish up meals, and clothes are coming in. People are sitting between bags of clothes eating food. So space is definitely something that is definitely required. Meeting halls, classrooms, and things of that nature. So I'm glad to be involved in that because, well, I enjoy that type of planning and other work. Number two is to raise the profile of the church down there, because it does exist literally in the shadows of casinos where tens of millions of dollars of money changes hands every single day. And I can't think of a city that's worse in terms of having houses of worship than in Las Vegas, because it's not top of mind for people when they go to Las Vegas. They're there to have a good time. It's Sin City, right? And so it makes it kind of doubly hard when you exist within an entertainment capital. But the thing that staggered me down there was that so many people come to Las Vegas because they're searching, number one, for some type of opportunity. Some people still come, believe it or not, and will bring their life savings and will risk it on the craps tables and the blackjack tables and in the slot machines and at the poker tables. And as we know, the longer you play, due to the edge of mathematics and the house edge, it's called the guarantee of ruin, the surety of ruin. The longer you play, the absolute, the more likely you are to lose everything. And a lot of people do that. And I've talked to some of those people that came and just lost everything. Other people lost their jobs. As you know, Las Vegas is a very service-centered economy, so the wage rate is really rather low, and the cost of living has really gone up as many people from California have poured into Las Vegas as retirement, which is great, source for relatively cheap entertainment, coupons, and great dining experiences. Restaurants are always turning over, new concepts are coming and going, but all of that requires a huge core of service workers, probably on a percentage basis much larger than other cities in the United States. So you have a core of people that are paid enough to get by, but not enough to really pull themselves and get up to a higher level. And then once they lose their jobs and things, particularly as times get a little tighter here, as interest rates rise, then there's really not much there's not much other places to go there in terms of employment except in the service sector. Sometimes the casinos are higher and sometimes they're not. And as you know, as economic conditions wax and wane, casinos hire or let people go accordingly, or cease hiring for a while. So it presents a very interesting economic dynamic down there. And some people have said, well, why have you become interested in it? What is it to you? Well, it's not a lot to me, right? But I understand when I went down there the first time and I attended a Sunday Latin Mass, and I thought this is a great experience. It didn't particularly, it's cool, right? It's unusual. Those of you Catholic know we had an old Latin Mass, and then with Vatican II in the early 60s, we caught over to what's called the Novus Order, the new order where the priest faces the people, and it's supposedly a more engaging form of worship. So it was cool to go back and see that old school type of Mass in Latin, everything in Latin, and it was exciting. And I encourage all of you to check that out sometime if you're interested. Particularly if you're Catholic, because it is kind of a throwback thing. But as I started to dig in a little more, I saw something on the bulletin that said we really need people to do maintenance projects. And I thought to myself, well, I know how to pick up a paintbrush, I know how to change plumbing, I know how to do some electrical stuff and all that. I thought, okay, I'm going to volunteer to help out, and well, the rest is history. But interestingly enough, that's really nothing in the scheme of things. But I came to know Father Courtney Creer, the pastor down there, and at first I looked around and I'm like, I'd see people being fed every morning, 100, 200 people out on the parking lot, and a small core of people that were volunteering. And I'm like, where's everybody else here? Like, where's the other priest down here and stuff? And it's like I started asking some people, what's going on? Where is everybody? And they're like, this is a solo act, man. This is a solo act. I'm like, really? Right? And the more I dug in, the more I found it amazing, the story. And I'm going to let Father tell it in a video that I'm going to record this time down. But the point was, I was shocked, and I have to say somewhat horrified, that between and it just staggers my mind, because I have a wonderful parish that I go to here, but the priests have 3 days on, a couple days off and stuff like that. I've never seen somebody that gets up every day, probably at 6 a.m., does a morning rosary at 7:30 a.m., then Mass at 8 a.m. every single morning, then immediately grabs a 5-gallon bucket of snacks, goes out really quick to just fend off the morning hunger until they get the hot meal put down at 10 o'clock, then is out there supervising, right, keeping people from killing each other on the parking lot. Sometimes in cold and windy and wet conditions, and other times in brutal heat of 105, 110 degrees with no shade out there. And you can imagine, and I've sat there before many times in that office doing some work, and I've heard people cussing a blue streak outside, and it's, it's very discomforting to hear that and to realize how out of sorts people are and how out of whack they are down there. And the heat just doesn't help things at all. But then to go and do that feeding, do the supervising, and then I asked one day, well, I saw Father. He's like, well, I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm putting the bulletin together and counting the collection and writing up my sermon for next week, and doing a weekly theological expose for distribution to, well, anybody that wants it or members of the parish. And I'm like, well, where's your secretary? He's like, you're looking at the secretary here. I'm like, really? So you do that weekday mass every day, rosary in the morning, weekday mass, right? Then on Sunday, you do a 8 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, and a 12:30 mass, a 10 a.m. high mass, 12:30, he does speak Spanish. In German, you do a 12:30 mass or 12, and then you get in your car and you drive 120 miles to Needles, California, and you have a mission church down there, and you do a 4 o'clock mass down there, and then you come home and do it all again. And people driving around to stores picking up stuff that 7-Eleven would throw out and Kmart would throw out, and I'm thinking to myself, ay caramba, man, this guy's gonna have a, unless he gets some help soon, because we're both the same age, and I'm the old war horse from Baltimore, right? But I'm not out there hoofing it, and every single day. Then the whole thing is gonna come a cropper down there. That's why I got involved, okay, and that's why I think it's incumbent on us. So today, if you look in the description box and in the comment section, there's already 6 or 7 videos that have been carefully posted, edited and professionally done there with voiceovers and other things for the videos, just to introduce some of you to the parish down there. And it will be built on going forward. I think especially the gateway video, it'll exemplify some of the problems of being involved in faith worship in a community like Las Vegas, where it's very easy to get lost in the sauce. And so I hope that you will subscribe and watch those videos and comment, and also share. We live in a time where people are so becoming increasingly disparaged for being Christians, and atheism is on the rise dramatically, and the number of people that believe in God has collapsed radically over the last 30 years in particular. And I truly believe that society today bears the hallmarks of that sort of shift from a vertical world to a horizontal world, where we falsely believe that we can depend on other people, and we don't need anything from above. We don't need that anymore. Just close the door. We're all good to go. We're excellent. Well, the problem with that has to do with concepts like charity, because it's very easy, as I've done for many years, to look at people on the street in dire need and just in desperate, laying in their own feces and urine, and it's 115 degrees outside. They're laying on the sidewalks, and the temperature is probably 125 degrees on the ground. And just shake your head and say, wow, I hope somebody's taking care of these people. One day I thought to myself, a lot of people probably think like me, like, well, that's the government's responsibility to do things like that. And we think to ourselves, well, the government will take care of that, right? I don't have to worry about it. It's all good. And then I realized one day that, only people can be charitable. No matter what organization you have, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, whatever other groups have outreach and missions for helping Redwood Gospel here, they're not charitable. Institutions and organizations can't be charitable. Only individuals can be charitable. And through their charitable efforts, they make the illusion of institutional charity possible. Okay, so every time I sort of turn my back and say, somebody else is taking care of that, or somebody else is being responsible for building a parish hall so children can be educated, and then they can have a general meeting facility and classrooms, and finally a decent pantry and storeroom and a decent kitchen to prepare things, or people outside, well, let the government take care of feeding these people. And every time I do that, right, I'm diminishing the value of being charitable as an individual. Okay, and therefore the concept of being charitable overall sort of collapses in our society today. And our zones of what I call forgiveness shrink. We become less tolerant of other people. We become more confirmed in what we think a person should be. And anybody that falls off of that sort of narrow plane that we establish these days, well, it just becomes somebody else's problem, and oh well, what a failure, right? And it sucks to be you, etc. None of us are going to live forever, and that's often a thought that we hate to deal with, especially in today's world. And as a result, because so many people have lost the aspect of a vertical existence, that something greater may be beyond, and I believe is beyond this existence. They contrive ways to hold on to this existence as long as they possibly can, right? Extending life. I was looking at a video the other day about this 40-year-old man that's gone to extraordinary lengths to see what he could do to extend his life through diet and sleeping and very controlled. And I just thought to myself, you know, this is pretty cool. It's a cool experiment. But you know, at the end of it all, bro, you're going to the same place we go, whether you're delayed or accelerated, right? So my point is that we hold on too much of the things of this world, and we don't put enough of our thought today on the process of what comes after this existence. And I'm going to tell you something quite honestly, in my mind, only something greater than us has the ability to lift us up, whether it's chemicals become plants, plants lift up chemicals, animals lift up and partake of plants and become better than plants. And if man is going to become better, he has to be lifted up by something better than himself, not something of a horizontal world. You can't lift people up by working sideways, right? You can tear down, but you can't build up. So, in closing, I want to thank you guys. If you could do me a favor, if you're able to subscribe and check it out and be a part of the channel, that would be great. There's some ideas expressed in there and some thoughts, particular maybe to Catholicism, but I transcend things like, you know, how are you? Did you feed your neighbor? Did you clothe your neighbor? You know, did you thirsty? You know, to me, there's things that just transcend. But there's ideas in these videos that you may take to heart and grasp. So I would ask you to subscribe, and if you got some benefit out of it, share it with other people, especially people that you think have fallen away from the faith, because we're not going to derive meaning from this horizontal world of our existence. It's just not there, at least in my opinion. So in closing, once again, the link will be in the description box down below, along with the comment section. It'll be in both places. Please do subscribe. Remember, kindness helps all things in life, and we live in a world with social media where we can enjoy the anonymity of brutality, right? And that's a very devastating thing, especially to a lot of people that are new to social media and maybe haven't grown a hard shell. But you know, I do believe we all have something to account for in this life, so everybody, I think, should make their mark. I'm also going to put the Amazon wish list down there. Some of you may wish to participate in the capital campaign for a parish hall, and that will be upcoming in the future. You'll see videos that detail the need for the hall, as well as Father Creer explaining how the hall will be built, and also some inspirational videos too. So in closing, I want to thank you, wish you happy Sunday. Life is short, eternity is forever. Think about it, right? So I will see you guys in Las Vegas, and yes, we still have fun and kooky times, everybody. Right? All right, everybody. Thumbs up or appreciate. Please share this out. Please subscribe and go over there and subscribe too. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.